Hey guys, in this video, we're going to answer a question I've been asking for a long time, and that is, can you take a high-end 1/8 scale race buggy and bash it and have it be durable and fun? Because if you can, this could turn out to be a really good deal. Now, when this thing was brand new, it would be over $1,000 to put this kit together and put electronics in it. I didn't pay anywhere near that for this car because this is a former race buggy and it's got a little bit of use, but it's actually got surprisingly little wear and tear on it, and this is a really highly featured and well-optioned car. What we're gonna do in this video is take a look at what you get with a car like this. Then we're gonna throw in a power system. I got a few options here. We've got a VXL 8S, got a Spectrum 150, Max 10 SCT, maybe this Rocket RC 150 amp. Not sure what power system we're gonna put in this yet. We're gonna reinforce this body, and then we're gonna take it and we're gonna put some on-road D-Boots Hoons tires on it, take it, do some on-road bashing with it. We're gonna do some off-road bashing with it with these Duratrax lock-up buggy tires. And assuming it survives those two levels of bashing, we're gonna put some big Proline 2.8 tires on here, maybe even some hex extenders, and see how this thing holds up to some real serious jumps and crashes. First thing I want to do is show you what you actually get when you buy an Elite Race Buggy like this. This thing is absolutely amazing. We have got a 7075 chassis here, beautiful plush front and rear shocks that are all aluminum threaded body. We've also got these all aluminum hubs and knuckles from the factory, front and rear. Got some carbon fiber here on the top plate. We have an aluminum top plate for the servo saver, an aluminum Ackerman bar, some nice, thick, beefy links. Of course, all this stuff's gonna be adjustable because this is a race car. Some nice, big, beefy arms here. These even have carbon fiber inserts in them. Aluminum A, B, C, and D blocks. Sway bars, front and rear. This is a fully optioned race buggy. And these race buggies have options in them that we would spend a ton of money putting into basher vehicles. Another great advantage to these race buggies is that they're really light. This chassis only weighs about 5.5 pounds. Is that lightness going to become a problem when we bash? I'm not sure, and that's what we're gonna find out in this video. The only real weak point I've seen so far on this is potentially these drive shafts. They look like they're really high quality, but they're also quite thin, and I'm worried that these are gonna bend or break when we get some real serious forces on this chassis. But there's only one way to find out, and we're gonna find out in this video. All right, I've gone through the power system options, and it looks like we're gonna be going with this Spectrum 150 amp ESC and this Spectrum 2050 kV motor. These motor mounts are actually kind of strange. They only accept a few different sizes of diameter motors, and I was hoping to put a smaller motor in here, but this 40mm motor is the only one that I have that's gonna fit in this mount. So let me go ahead and get these mounted up. I'm also gonna put this EcoPower WP120T servo in here. I've never used one of these before. Went ahead and picked one up because I've heard good things about them. We're gonna put that in there, get a receiver put in there, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, guys, I got the ESC installed. Just used some double-side tape for that. I got the servo installed. One issue I've run into is I've only got 3 of the right size rubber adapters for my 40mm motor for this motor mount. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take one of these off, take my calipers, and I'm gonna measure the basic dimensions of this. I know it's 40mm on the inner diameter, but we're gonna get the other basic dimensions for this. Then I'm gonna go ahead and draw a model up in Fusion 360. We'll get this sent to my 3D printer and we'll print one out. Now, if you're interested in more information regarding 3D printing and RCs, make sure you get subscribed because I'm gonna be doing a full video on this showing what does work, what doesn't work, the best equipment to get, and how to get started in 3D printing. It should be really interesting and you're not gonna wanna miss it. Got that 3D printed piece in there and got the motor installed. This is a really interesting motor mount, but I think it's gonna be great for bashing because it holds the motor in 2 different places as opposed to just a plate on the front, which lets the back flex. This is held in here really solid. I also went ahead and reinforced the body. This is a great way to make these bodies last a really long time. If you're interested in how I did this, I've got a couple videos showing 2 different methods. I'll put those links in the description. Now later on in the video, I'm gonna go over the price of all of this, what I paid for each part and what the thing costs total, but for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get these Hoons put on here, and let's see how this race car does as a street basher. Oh, I broke a shock. Well, guys, after about 45 minutes of on-road bashing nonsense, the only thing I managed to break was this front upper shock mount, and I think that's pretty good for what this thing went through. Overall, the chassis held up really well. This thing was a lot of fun on-road, even though I don't have this thing set up right for on-road at all. If you do know how the best way to set up one of these things for on-road or off-road, let me know down in the comments, because this was set up for racing, and I just basically made the camber and toe zeroed out as much as I possibly could, and that seemed to work out pretty well. But other than the one breakage, I would give this a solid 9 out of 10 for on-road fun, and I think this makes a good on-road basher. Now, I don't have a Team Low C replacement for this, so we're gonna have to go into the Horde and see if we can find something that'll work. All right, let's take a look in the Horde drawer here and see what we have. I think some of these Arrma ones might fit. I've got a few in here, and I think possibly Team Co-Rally ones might fit. So I've got my Team Co-Rally bag here. Let's go ahead and take these back in the room and see how they fit. First, let's take a look at the Arrma mount, because that one's gonna be stronger, and unfortunately, the diameter is too big to fit through the bushing. Let's look at the Co-Rally mount. I know these are smaller. Looks like it's close to the right length, and it is the exact right diameter. It also fits pretty well in the tower. Now, it's not perfect, and these Co-Rally mounts are known to break in the exact same way as the stock one did, so I'm not entirely sure that this is going to be any better, but let's get this mounted up. I'm going to switch this thing over to off-road mode, and I'll show you what that looks like. Off-road mode is engaged. We got these nice beefy Duratrax lock-up tires on here. I have a front bumper. I put thicker center differential oil in it, put the rear wing back on. She's got some hex extenders on there to make these out a little bit longer, make her more like a truggy, and I think she's ready to go out and bash. I've got a new spot for bashing, and don't forget, if this thing makes it through this, we're gonna put these much bigger tires on there and put her on the really big ramp and see how she handles some big jumps, so you're not gonna wanna miss that. Okay, well, I am just getting more and more impressed with this little car. I put this thing through some pretty serious beating. I've got a couple of packs of off-roading with it now, quite a few bad landings, some tumbles, and so far the only thing that's happened is I lost one screw on the rear wing, and I may just not have had that tight. I've also bent this shock tower mount, but remember, this is not the TLR shock tower mount. This is the Team Co-Rally shock tower mount, and they are notoriously weak. But other than that, the chassis is still nice and flat. The towers are still nice and straight, and everything is good on this. So it looks like we're gonna be going with the big guns. Now, I fully expect to break this car with these tires. They're too big, they're too heavy, but let's put them on, take this thing off the big jump and see how much it really can handle. When we get back from that, I'm gonna tell you what the most exciting part about this is, and that's how much money I actually have in this car. I am shocked. I have been putting this thing through absolute hell, really actually trying to break it, crashing it on its nose from 15 feet in the air, bad landings, running these tires that are way too big with hex extenders, and it won't break. It's just that solid. I'm not saying this thing's unbreakable, but this Team Losi Racing 8 Elite XE is a really tough car. And it makes sense. You don't want your car breaking when you're racing, and this is a top-of-the-line race car. It's got aluminum everywhere it needs to have aluminum, nice, flexible plastic where it needs to be flexible. The things I was worried about, these front and rear axle shafts being thin, turns out I had no reason to worry about that. They're still perfectly straight. I actually stopped bashing it because my switch fell off and I lost the little cover for my switch and I didn't want to lose this ESC. Now, speaking of electronics, let's talk about what this cost me. This is a hell of a deal because this is a previous generation car, and once new generation cars come out, the previous generation cars lose a lot of value. This kit originally would have been almost $800 and I got it for 160 bucks. It does have some use. I have added some more to it, but not a ton. Overall, it was in really good condition. I didn't do anything to it other than throw the electronics in and go. With those electronics, I have a Spectrum 150 amp system. You can find these all day long in the groups for 120, 130 bucks. I got this Eco Power servo. These are like 60 bucks. You could go even cheaper though for a basher like this. You could go with the Amazon 35 kg servo for 25 bucks. And then just my receiver, whatever receiver you're gonna put in there, that's gonna be your cost for that. And then the tires. You don't need these tires. I got these Duratrax lockups online for, that's like 50 or 60 bucks. So you're looking at, let's say 450 bucks all in for a car that has a 7075 chassis, 7075 towers, 7075 hubs, knuckles, front and rear, CVDs in the rear, universal joints in the front. Honestly, this could be the best value in bashing right now. The Typhon might be a little bit more durable overall, but this thing handles incredibly well. This suspension is so plush. It handles the bumps, it handles the jumps. It is beautiful. If you're looking for something cool to bash that's super tough, take a look and find one of these lightly used X race car sliders. They're really awesome. And speaking of things you should take a look at, make sure you take a look at the new Max 5 G2 ESC and motor combo that's coming out. I've got one coming, but I got all the information for it right here. Check this out.